alphabet. Okay.
Velkommen til din første leksjon. Welcome to your first lesson. We're going to start out by learning the alphabet, as it's pretty important to know how these letters sound when used in words. The entire alphabet in Norwegian is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, Æ, Ø, Å. So, as you can see, it consists of the normal English alphabet in addition to these 3 extra funky letters, but don't worry, they're not too funky, and we'll get around to looking at them in detail soon enough. We're going to go through each individual letter now. I'll give you examples of how they sound when used in words, and we will also take a look at their different variations in pronunciation. Before we begin, I want to note that most of the vowels have 2 different pronunciations, either long or short. Long vowels are usually followed by single consonant, while short vowels tend to be followed by double consonants. In other words, you can often tell what the word sounds like by noticing if it has a singular or double consonant. As we go through the alphabet, I will give examples of these 2 different variations of pronunciations. Over time, this will totally be second nature, and you don't have to think of this consciously at all. But for now, you can use this little rule to help you figure out how certain words are pronounced. A, alphabet, alphabet. An example of a long and short A is fra, fruk, fra, fruk, B, banan, se. When it comes to the letter C, there are a few different pronunciations. Typically, however, it will either sound like an S or a K sound. So examples would be camping, celle, Kristoffer, chili, det, dør. Occasionally, a D inside a word may be silent, and a few examples of this are brød, sun, eple. An example of the long versus short E is se, engelsk. Occasionally, the E will also sound like the letter A. An example is er, which means is. Very, very seldom you will also see an E with a little accent on the top. And basically what that means is that you add emphasis on the E sound. Idé. I also want to mention that when it comes to writing Norwegian, the little accent on the top of the E in these particular instances is actually optional. It's not something that you have to do. So luckily for you, you don't really have to worry about this letter. F. Fabrik. G. Gut. Sometimes when the G is the first letter of a word, it will sound like the Norwegian J. So an example of that is geit. The G can also be silent. This is when it's at the end of a word following an I, or when it's in front of a J. Heldig. Igjen. Hode. The H can also be silent. This is typically when the H is followed by a J or a V, and these usually occur in the beginning of a word. Examples of this are hjelm,
Hjelm.
hjelm,
Hjelm.
va,
Va.
va,
Hjelm.
i,
Idrett.
idrett,
Idrett.
idrett. An
Idrett.
example of the long and short pronunciation of I is sier, ikke, sier, ikke, yeah,
Jente.
yod. So this letter can actually be said in two different ways when you say the actual letter itself. It's either yeah or yod. It doesn't matter which one you use. Everyone understands both, and yeah is more common than yod. When pronounced, this letter sounds like the English Y. Jente,
Jente.
jente,
Jente.
K,
K.
K, konge,
Konge.
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 The K can also have a sound, and that is usually when it's in front of an I or a J. Examples of this are kino,
Kino.
kino,
Kino.
skole,
Skjole.
skole.
Skjole. Skinne. Wait now. Yeah.
You in front of a word acts the same way as un is used in English. In other words, meaning the opposite of whatever follows that letter. An example of this is ukjent. Ukjent. Ved. Vann. W. Wienerpølse. Extremely few Norwegian words use W. It's very, very uncommon, just like the Q, and it actually sounds exactly the same as V. In fact, people even say VC instead of WC. X. Again, this is a letter that is never used in Norwegian. It's used so little that I don't even have an example for it.
Ayaw ni
other
Bebe
than a
paalisin.
name, which is Alex.
Nagagalit siya kapag hindi naka-turn on.
E. The letters E and E can sound very similar in Norwegian. To make the E sound, purse your lips. To make the E sound, widen your mouth. Notice the difference between E and E. Seek. Notice that the letter I in Norwegian sounds exactly like E in English. By the way, seek with an I is not a real Norwegian word. I'm only using it here to contrast between the Y and I sound. Irke. An example of a short versus long E is lyst. Sett. Again, this is a letter that you never see in Norwegian, but it sounds exactly like in English whenever you see it. Zambia. And now we've reached the 3 extra letters that the Norwegian alphabet has. The first one is A, and as you can see, it is composed of an A and an E put together. A, bad, trær. It sounds just like the American bad or apple. Øl. So, as you can tell, the double consonant rule does not apply to this word. I'm not sure why, but it just doesn't. It actually sounds like it's supposed to have 2 L's. But an example of a long versus a short is kjøre. Trett. Å. Åtte. An example of a long versus short å is stå. Åtte. This letter sounds identical to the Norwegian word å, which means and. Å by itself means to, as in to fish or any other verb. It's what you use in front of verbs in their infinite form. An extra thing to note about the 3 last letters here is that even if you aren't able to type these on your keyboard, you can still write these, and we do that by writing AE for A, OE for Ö, and 2 A's for Å. And if you write this, every Norwegian will understand what you mean. In fact, it was exactly 100 years ago in 1917 that double A's were replaced with Å. So if you ever read old Norwegian texts, you'll see double A instead of Å. And there are actually still people who have names that use a double A instead of the more modern Å. So to repeat the Norwegian alphabet one more time, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y.
Hello po! Thank you for watching, Marian. Salamat sa pagbisita.
A few times. Use the left arrow on the keyboard to go back a few seconds and hear it again. So there we have it, the Norwegian alphabet. Remember, these letters Q, W, X, and Z are virtually never used in the Norwegian language. Luckily for you, that makes Norwegian a bit easier to learn. I know this video contained a lot of information and it's a lot to take in a single sitting, but it's essential that you start out learning the language with a foundational understanding of the pronunciation. And as you watch more lessons, you will now know that you can always come back to this video to refresh your memory on how to properly pronounce Norwegian. Note that there are some quirky words out there that won't really follow these guidelines.
Just learning.
And as with any language, you're just going to have to learn those as you come across them. Another tip I have for you is, if you're serious about learning Norwegian and want to speak it well, spend your initial learning period really focusing on how the language sounds.
Start pa lang ako mag-aral ng Norks.
Out loud, do it multiple times, and really do your best to recreate.
Can you speak Norks? Kan du snakkes norsk? Hindi pa ako marunong masyado.
Clearly. After a while, the correct pronunciation will be second
Honeypots, Norway.
on things such as grammar. Norwegian grammar is super easy, but we'll get to that in a different video. Oh, what's this?
From Honeypots, Norway.
This word. And the word is gift. Gift. This is an example
Gift.
of the G sounding like a Norwegian J as the first letter of the word. Interestingly, this word has two meanings in Norwegian. It can mean
Gordo
marry,
Norge.
or it can mean poison.
Oh,
A
Gordo Norge.
coincidence? Who knows? That concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next video, you will learn how to greet people, how to ask them how they are doing. how to
Saan
say
sa
your name, how to say
Norway?
bye. And it will be a much shorter video than this one, so it's definitely worth your time.
Yeah. I live also in Norway. From Honeyfoss.
Hallo alle sammen. Hey everyone, and welcome to your second simple Norwegian lesson. Today we're going to learn about how to greet people, how to ask how they're doing, how to introduce yourself, and how to say goodbye. Let's start out with a few different variations of greetings. Hi.
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 Some people also pronounce this word as hey. Hey. Something that I have to say about hi is that some people use this as a way of saying goodbye. Personally, I've never used this as a goodbye, but people do use this as a goodbye, so just be aware of that. Hi, son.
Hi, Zen.
Hi, son.
Hi, Zen.
Hallo.
Hello.
Hallo.
Hello.
Halla.
Hello.
Halla.
Hello.
This is a slang variation of a greeting, and it's not very formal. Velkommen.
Velkommen.
Velkommen. Welcome. God dag. God dag. Takk for sist. Takk for sist. This is the weirdest way to greet someone, but Norwegians say this, and it basically means thank you for the last time we hung out together. Hyggelig å se deg.
Hyggelig å se deg.
Hyggelig å se deg.
Hyggelig å se deg.
Nice to see you. Okay, so now you've said hello to someone. What can you say after that? The following phrases are meant just for that. Hvordan går det?
Hvordan går det?
Hvordan går det?
Hvordan går det?
How's it going? Hvordan står det til?
Hvordan står det?
Hvordan står det til? This means how's it going, and it literally means how's it standing. Står til.
Står til.
Står til.
How is going?
This is a short form of the previous phrase, and it means how's it going? Hvordan har du det?
Hvordan har du det?
Hvordan har du det? How are you?
Hvordan har du det?
Hva skjer da? Hva skjer da? This means what's up, and as you might have figured, this is slang. It's not very formal. Jeg har det fint.
Jeg har
Jeg
det.
har det fint. This means I'm doing well. Det går bra. Det går bra. This means it's going well. Det går greit. Det går greit. This means it's going okay. Det går dårlig.
Det går
Det går
dårlig.
dårlig. This means it's not going so well. Hva heter du?
Hva
Hva
heter
heter
du?
du?
What is your
What is your
name?
name?
Hva heter
Hva
du?
er navnet ditt?
Hva
Hva er navnet ditt? What is your name? Jeg heter.
Jeg heter
Jeg
Mary Jane.
heter. My name is.
Philippines, Pakistan.
Mitt navn er.
Mitt navn.
Mitt navn er.
Mitt navn.
My name is.
Mitt navn.
So at this point in the conversation, you're just bored of this Norwegian person and you just want to say goodbye. How do we say goodbye in Norwegian? Det var hyggelig å se
Jeg
deg.
snakker Philippines
Det var hyggelig å
og
se deg. It was nice to see you.
English.
Det var hyggelig å treffe deg. Det var hyggelig å treffe deg. It was nice meeting you. There are many variations of this next one here, and that is hada. Hada literally means have it, and it comes from hadebra. So hada is a shortened form of hadebra, and you can also say ha det fint, ha det godt, which mean to have it good, have it well, and they're just all different variations of saying goodbye. So let's go through these. Ha det, ha det, ha det bra, ha det bra, ha det fint, ha det godt. All of these literally mean the same thing, and that is goodbye. It doesn't matter which way you write it either. All of these are correct ways of writing it. Vi ses senere. Vi ses senere.
Vi ses
See you
senere.
later. Ses senere.
Ses senere.
Ses senere. This is obviously a shortened form of the
Ses
previous phrase. Vi ses. Vi ses. This is again a shortened form of the previous phrase. Vi snakkes senere.
Vi
Vi
snakkes
snakkes
senere.
senere.
Vi
Talk to you
snakkes
later.
senere.
This literally means we will talk later. Snakkes senere.
Snakkes senere.
Snakkes senere.
Snakkes senere.
Again, this is a shortened form of the previous phrase. Vi snakkes.
Vi
Vi
snakkes.
snakkes.
Vi
Talk to you later.
snakkes.
På gjensyn.
Goodbye.
På gjensyn.
Farvel.
This means
Adjø.
goodbye, and it literally means upon seeing each other again. Farvel.
Farvel.
Farvel. Adieu.
Adjø.
Adieu.
Adjø.
Adieu and farvel are two words that you typically only use when you're saying goodbye for a long time. Say, for example, you think you're never going to see each other again, or maybe the person is going on a long trip. That is the time that someone would say farvel or adieu. Oh snap, it's time for another bonus word. And today we have hjerte.
Hjerte. Heart.
Hjerte. Notice that the H is silent.
Hjerte.
This word means heart. So that was it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to check out my next video, which is going to be about fundamental words and phrases in Norwegian.
Fundamental words and phrases. Ja, nei, ja, kanskje, kanskje, men ikke, med, bare, kun, nå, ingen, alle, bra, flott, fint, dårlig, dårlig, dårlig. Unnskyld. Beklager. Takk. Okay.
Hey everyone, in this video we're going to look at some basic Norwegian phrases and words, which are fundamental for speaking the language. We're also going to take a look at how you can express liking something or disliking something. Ouch. Let's start out this lesson by learning the most fundamental words of the Norwegian language. Ja.
Ja.
Ja. This means yes. Nei.
Nei.
Nei. This means no. Jo. Jo. This is a special Norwegian word, but it's important to understand what it means.
Jo.
Basically, it means yes, but as a response to counter a negative statement. An example of this would be, du ikke kul. Jo, det jeg. So you can see the yes is a counter to what the first person said. Kanskje.
Kanskje. Kanskje.
This means maybe. This word comes from putting together kan and skje, which mean may happen. Men. This is but, not the ass but the but. Ikke. This means not. Me. The D is silent in this word, and this means with. Bare.
Only.
This means only.
Kun.
This also means only.
No.
This means now. Ingen. This means none or nobody, depending on how it's used. Alle. This means all or everyone, depending on how it's used. Bra. This means good. Flott. This means great.
Bra.
Fint.
Fint.
This means fine. Dårlig. This means bad, as in low quality. Unnskyld. This means excuse me or sorry. Beklager. This means sorry. Sorry. This obviously means sorry. Takk. This means thank you. Tusen takk. This means thanks a lot and literally 1,000 thanks. Takk skal du ha. This means thank you and it literally means thanks you shall have. Alright, let's move on to some very handy phrases that you can use when you're speaking Norwegian. Jeg vet ikke. This means I don't know. Jeg forstår ikke. I don't understand. Jeg forstår ikke hva du sier. This means I don't understand what you're saying. Kan du snakke saktere?
Kan du snakke
Kan
saktere?
du snakke
Can you
saktere?
speak slower?
Could you speak slower?
Kan
Kan du prate mer langsomt?
mer langsomt?
Kan du prate mer langsomt? Could you speak more slowly? Du prater for fort.
Du prater
Du
for fort.
prater for fort.
Du
You
prater
speak too quickly. Du snakker alt for raskt. Du snakker alt for raskt.
Du snakker
This means you
alt
speak
for
too
raskt.
quickly.
Jeg
Jeg kan
kan
snakke
snakke
norsk.
norsk.
Jeg kan snakke norsk. I can speak Norwegian. Notice that in Norwegian, we don't use a big N in front of norsk. Jeg kan norsk.
Jeg kan norsk.
I speak
Kan
Norwegian.
norsk.
This literally means I can Norwegian, but it means I speak Norwegian. Snakker du engelsk?
Snakker du
Snakker du engelsk?
engelsk?
Do you speak English?
Engelsk.
Hvilke språk snakker du? Hvilke språk snakker du?
Språk.
Which languages do you speak?
Språk.
Hvor kommer du fra? Hvor kommer du fra?
Du.
Where do you come from? Jeg er fra England.
Jeg er
Jeg er fra England. I'm from England. Hvor bor du? Hvor bor du? Where do you live? Jeg bor i USA.
Jeg bor
i USA. Jeg liker bananer. Jeg liker bananer. I like bananas. Jeg elsker kake.
Jeg
elsker kake.
Jeg elsker
I love cake.
Jeg elsker du.
Jeg misliker epler. Jeg misliker epler. I dislike apples. Jeg liker ikke kaffe.
Kaffe.
Jeg liker ikke kaffe. I don't like coffee. Jeg hater tomater.
Jeg
Jeg
hater
hater
tomater.
tomater. I hate tomatoes. Okay, that was everything for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. In the next video, I'll be talking about numbers and counting. So make sure to check that out.
Counting. Okay, again. Okay, let's learn Norwegian. Okay, let's count numbers in Norwegian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10. Counting numbers.
Velkommen tilbake til Simple Norwegian. Er du
Welcome
klar
back.
til å lære mer norsk? Today we'll be learning how to count and say numbers in Norwegian. This is really important to learn so that you can count all of your money or brag about how many cute Norwegian girls you've kissed. I just want to mention that this is going to be a really thorough guide for the numbers in Norwegian. We're going to go from 1 all the way up to 1,000,000,000,000. Additionally, we're going to learn first, second, third, etc. And the first thing I'm going to explain are these different terms used in Norwegian revolving around the subject of numbers. Nummer.
Nummer.
Nummer means number, as in number 5, for example. Basically, it means position or ranking.
Number 5.
Tall.
Tall
Tall.
numbers.
This is what you would think of when you say numbers in English. Tall is both singular and plural, hence the S in the parenthesis here. Antall.
Antall.
Antall. Antall means amount. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we can start learning some numbers. En.
Yen.
En.
Yen.
To.
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 Tre.
Tre. Tre.
Tre.
Tre.
Fire.
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 Fem. Fem.
Fem.
Seks. Seks.
Sju. Sju. This number has an alternate
Sju.
pronunciation, and that is siv.
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 Sju.
Most people definitely use sju, but siv is still widely used, so it's good to know. Åtte.
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 Ni.
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 Ti.
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 Okay, let's go through 1 to 10 again real quickly.
Gutom na ako.
1,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7, 8, 9,
Hi po, may isa ni Isoy. Thank you po for watching. Salamat sa pagbisita.
Congratulations. I want to note something about the number 1 in Norwegian, however. When you use this number, you have to take into account the gender of the noun you are talking about. Let me explain. The en that you just learned can become a or et, depending on the gender. An example of each
Hello
of
po.
these is en gutt,
And
ei
good.
jente.
Medyo busy mag-aral ng
So these are all different
Norwegian
genders,
language,
and
kaya
you can see that
madalang
the
na ako
one
sa
changes depending on the
YouTube.
gender. Elve,
Elve.
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 I've written in brackets below how you
Elve.
actually pronounce the word. You don't really pronounce the E in the middle there. Tolv,
Tolv.
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 13,
13.
13,
13.
14,
14.
14,
14.
15,
Ayos naman po. Kumusta din po? Kumusta ang maisan nyo?
16,
Seisen. Nag-aaral po ako ng Norwegian language. Bukas start na ng school ko.
18,
18.
18, 19, 19,
Kailangan kasing matutong
20.
mag-Norwegian. Kasi yung salita
Sure.
dito,
20 has an
Norwegian.
alternative pronunciation, and that is tive.
Chibe.
Tive. 20 is much more common than tive. Up until 100 in Norwegian, there's a repeating pattern that occurs and is actually quite simple. It's actually the same as in English. All you do is take the number of tens that you have, 20 for example, and add the numbers that we learned from 1 to 10. So an example for 20 would be 21, 22, 23, 24, etc. Now let's learn all the tens up to 100. 30, 30, 40,
Ayos lang po.
50,
50.
50,
50.
60,
60.
60,
60.
70,
70.
70,
70.
80,
80.
80,
80.
90,
90.
90. So as a pattern, you might have noticed that all of these end with T, and
Ayos lang po, ma'am. Salamat po sa pag-watch. Nag-live lang ako kasi hindi ako makagawa ng maka-edit ng mga for upload. Kaya nagla-live na lang ako kahit paano may upload.
Actually, when I think about it, you do the exact same thing in English. In English, you add a T sound at the end also. Hun.
Hun. Yeah. Habang nag-aaral, nagla-live. Wala kasing mai-content pa. Hindi nakakalabas at malamig. Tas busy mag-aral. Bukas start na ng school ko. Okay.
100.
100.
So I've added the 100 at the bottom here to specify the gender. Now the question is, can you remember which gender this is by seeing that it's called 100?
Salamat po. Salamat sa pagtambay.
101. 101. O means and, so this follows the exact same structure as in English. 102.
102.
102.
102.
103.
103. 165. 165.
165. 176.
176.
176.
176.
188.
88.
188.
8.
193. 193.
193.
200.
200.
200.
200.
300.
300.
300.
300.
400.
400.
400.
400.
1000.
1000.
1000.
1000.
1000.
1000.
1000. 1350. 1350. 2000.
2000.
2000.
2000.
3000.
3000.
3000.
3000.
10,000.
10,000. 10,000.
Notice that as we reach 10,000 and higher, in Norwegian we separate every third digit with a space. In other languages you use a comma or a period. In Norwegian we just use a space. Don't ask me why, I have no clue why. 20,000. 20,000. 30,000. 30,000. 100,000. 100,000. 200,000. 200,000. 300,000. 300,000. Million. Million. 1 million. 1 million. Seeing that this is 1 million, which gender is this? You are correct if you guessed male. 2 millioner. 2 millioner. 3 millioner. 3 millioner. So basically when millioner becomes plural, you just add ER at the end, making it millioner. Milliard. Milliard. 1 milliard. 1 milliard. 2 milliarder. 2 milliarder. Billion. Billion. 1 billion. 1 billion. I have no idea why this is, but 1 trillion in English becomes 1 billion in Norwegian. I really don't know why, but that's how it is. 2 billioner. 2 billioner. Okay, so that was enough numbers. I think you won't really have to go beyond a billion or a trillion or whatever. And now let's take a look at first, second, third, etc. Første.
Første.
One thing I want you to note is that in Norwegian, instead of having like a little ST for first or ND for second, we have a dot. The dot after the number signifies that it is the first, second, whatever. Andre.
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 Tredje.
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 Fjerde.
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 Femte.
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 Sjette.
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 Sjuende.
Sjuende.
Sjuende. Or
Sjuende.
alternatively, syvende.
Syvende. Sjuende. Åttende.
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 Niende. Niende.
Tiende.
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 Tiende. Ellevte.
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 Tolvte.
Tolvte.
Tolvte. Trettende.
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 Fjortende.
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 Femtende.
Femtende.
Femtende. Sekstende.
Seksende.
Sekstende.
Seksende.
Okay, I think that was enough of these. Basically, the pattern is that they end with ende. There are a few exceptions that end with a te at the end, but mostly they'll end with ende. Okay, my students, this is your first mini test. Get excited. We're now going to test your knowledge of the Norwegian numbers. Once you finish this, you will be a master at the Norwegian numbers. So the way this is going to work is that I'm going to show you a number, and then this Norwegian flag will pop up and serve as a countdown timer for when the answer is revealed. If you want to give yourself more time to think of the answer, use the space bar to pause and resume the video. Lykke til!
Lykke til. 9.
9.
3. 3.
3.
3. 6.
6.
N.
1. Ei. 1.
Sve. Sve.
7.
7. Yeah. 10.
10.
15.
15.
12.
12.
12. 18.
18.
18. 20.
20.
25. 25.
25.
Ja. 39.
39.
44.
44.
56.
56.
63.
63.
28.
78.
81.
81.
92.
92.
100.
100. 100.
100. 101.
101.
111. 11. 11.
111.
11. 350.
350.
890.
890.
630.
630.
Salamat po, Maisanisoy. Thank you po. God bless.
1000. 3333. 5555.
Oras po dito, alas 10:30 pa lang ng umaga.
777.
7 hours ahead kayo.
10 000.
15,000.
15 000.
59,000.
59 313.
1 million.
Million.
And million.
1 million.
2 millioner.
2 millioner.
1 milliard.
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 1 milliard.
5 milliarder.
5 milliarder.
Billion.
1 billion.
9 billioner.
9 billioner.
Første.
Første.
Andre.
Andre. Tredje.
Første. Fjerde. Femte.
Femte. Tiende.
Tiende. Ellevte.
Ellevte.
Tolvte.
Tolvte.
Trettende.
Trettende.
Sekstende. Sjuende.
Sekstende.
Seksende. Nittende.
Nittende.
Tjueførste.
21.
Trettiførste.
34.
Eviga.
Sweet, we're finally done with the test and the numbers. I really commend you for sticking through this entire video and going through the test also. You must be pretty good at the Norwegian numbers already, but if you want to refresh your knowledge, I recommend coming back to this video and repeating the mini test. In the next video, we will learn about the personal subject pronouns and the present tense of verbs in Norwegian. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. Yes, it's time to learn some grammar and you're angry. But don't worry, Norwegian has like the easiest grammar in the world. And yeah, that better make you happy. So let's jump straight into it with the personal subject pronouns. This is a list of the English pronouns and then the Norwegian equivalents. So these are jeg, du, han, hun, den, det. You might be wondering, why does it have two different Norwegian translations? The reason is that den is used for male and female, and det is used for neutral gendered nouns. Let's repeat these once more. Jeg, du, han, hun, den, det. The list doesn't stop there though. We have 3 more here, and those are vi, dere, de. Pretty straightforward. Just vi, dere, de. In order to look at how we use these in sentences, let's first learn about the present tense verbs in Norwegian. So as you know, the present tense means it's what you're doing right now. In English, we have 3 different variations of this, and they are, as this example shows, is eating, eats, and does eat. However, in Norwegian, we only have one way of saying all these 3 things, and that is han spiser.
Han spiser.
It's pretty easy to spot a present tense verb in Norwegian because 99% of the time they always end in ER. There are very few exceptions to this rule, and the ones that I know of are these right here. Vet, må, vil, kan, and skal. These verbs right here are written in their present tense as you see them right now. But other than
Wait
this,
lang.
they will always have ER at the end. If not ER, they will at least have an R at the very end. Remember how I said that Norwegian grammar is easy? Well, this is why. The form of the present tense verb does not change depending on what pronouns you're using it with. It's the same for every single one. Come on, guys, this deserves an applause. Every language should be like this. My hat's off to you, Norwegian. Some examples of this will be Han spiser. Hun leker. Den stjeler. De roper. Dere kjøper. In the English translation here, you can see that I've used different forms of the verbs. For example, I've used he eats and she is playing, even though they look exactly the same in the Norwegian counterpart. In order to know which meaning is being used in Norwegian, you simply have to look at the context. Because as we saw earlier, these three forms of verbs in English turn into this one single form in Norwegian. Alright, in order to form some full sentences, we're going to learn the personal object pronouns. They are meg,
My.
deg, han, henne,
Hunde.
den, det.
Det.
Den and det is obviously the same as earlier. I just want to note something about ham here. Ham is, even though it's correct grammar in Norwegian to use ham, people very seldom use it. It's like you never really see it. It's I can't explain it. I think Norwegians are a bit lazy themselves when it comes to grammar. And the list continues here with oss, dere, dem. I'll repeat these. Oss,
Dere.
dere,
Dem.
dem. Okay, now let's use what we've learned about pronouns and present tense verbs to create some simple sentences.
Dem.
A statement will typically follow this structure right here, beginning with a subject pronoun, then a present tense verb, and then an object pronoun. Han liker henne. Han liker henne. De hater meg.
De hater meg.
De hater meg.
De hater meg.
Jeg ser deg. Jeg ser deg.
Jeg ser deg.
Vi kommer til dere. Vi kommer til dere. And lastly, for this video, I want to teach you how you can make short, simple questions using just what you've learned in this video. So the structure is first the verb, then the subject pronoun, and then the object pronoun. Here are some examples. Hater de meg?
Hater du meg?
Hater de meg? Liker hun deg? Liker hun deg? Trener han henne? Trener han henne? Kommer de til oss? Kommer de til oss? Alright, thank you for watching this lesson of Simple Norwegian. In the next one, we will look at the genders of nouns in Norwegian and the articles. The articles are how we make sense of nouns. With this knowledge, you'll be able to describe nouns when there's just one of them or when there are many of them. Oh yeah! So, unfortunately, we have gender nouns in Norwegian. Why a lamp is female or why a couch is male is beyond me. Everything would be much simpler if random objects didn't have random genders. But that's just how it is. Luckily, in Norwegian, and I don't know why this is, but you can treat every female noun as if it were male. You can tell we're really big on gender equality here in Norway. So let's start out the actual lesson by looking at the indefinite articles. So for singular, we have en for male singular nouns, we have a or en for female, and we have et for neutral. These are the equivalent of a or un in English. So you might have noticed that for female, you have two different choices here. And this is what I was talking about earlier. En is actually the male version, but you can use it in front of a female noun and it's not an issue. Nobody will care. It's actually accepted. It's fine. It's right. It doesn't matter. So basically, you can choose between the two. And for the plural here, you can see that every single gender ends the same way. It's ER, just like the present tense verb that we learned in the previous lesson. Here we have some examples to show you, and I'll just say these out loud. En gutt, ei jente, et eple, gutter, jenter, epler. Yeah, and that's the indefinite article. It's pretty straightforward, I think. And now let's move on to the definite articles. You might notice something interesting straight away, and that is that all of these are endings for words. While in English we use the in front of them for both singular and plural, in Norway or Norwegian rather, we add a little thing at the end of the word. You might also have noticed that what you put after the word for the singular is actually very similar to what you put in front of the word when it's an indefinite noun. That applies to the male and neutral genders at least. But here we can see with the female, once again, you have a choice between a female version, which is just an A at the ending, or the male version, which is EN. And we can also note that all of the genders have the same ending in plural, which is awesome. Examples of these definite articles are gutten, jenta, eple, guttene, jentene, eplene. Notice that the T in eple is silent, and this is actually the case for every single neutral gendered noun in the definite article. Here's a summary of all the articles. And I'm just going to go through these real quick. En gutt, gutter, gutten, guttene. Ei jente, jenter, jenta, jentene. Et eple, epler, eple, eplene. An exception to the table that you just saw earlier are neutral gendered nouns that have a single syllable. Examples of this are egg and språk. When these are in their plural indefinite form, they just look like the noun by itself. It doesn't change at all. There are a few more exceptions to the table that I showed you earlier, but I can't really be bothered to go through all of them, and I don't think it really helps you to be focusing on all the little exceptions at this point in your learning. What we're going to do instead is go on to a little mini test. Okay, in this test, I'm going to show you a word and its accompanying article, and it's your job to identify what gender this word is, based upon what you've learned in this video. There will be a little flag countdown timer like this to show you when your time is up and the answer is revealed. But if you need more time, go ahead and pause and resume the video using the spacebar. Lykke til! Mannen. Døra.
Door.
Skålene.
Skålene.
Et brev. Ei flaske. En hest.
Neutral house. Horse.
Huset.
Husse.
Okay, the mini test is over. I hope that helped you learn the differences between the genders. In the next simple Norwegian lesson, we're going to learn a bunch of new vocab. So basically, we're not going to learn any more grammar. Yay!
Så er jeg original. Jeg gjør ting som på min måte. Noen treffer, noen gjør. Fire nye team skal igjen ut for å konkurrere mot hverandre i et intenst kappløp gjennom røff norsk natur.
Okay, my students, it's time to inject some more Norwegian into your brain. This video is going to be straight up vocab, so nothing fancy here, no grammar or anything. We're just going to learn words. In the previous video, we learned about the genders, and each word that is a noun here will be presented with its article so that you can learn the gender along with the word itself. If you haven't seen the previous lesson already, I highly recommend checking it out before watching this video. Igjen. Igjen. Aldri. Aldri. Alltid. Alltid. Veldig. Veldig. Et dyr. Et dyr. 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 Stor. Stor. Liten. Liten. Små. Små. A luft. The A is in a parenthesis because in reality you will never see anyone say one air. It doesn't make sense, but I'm adding it just so that you know the gender. Glad. Glad. Trist. Trist. Sur. Sur. Mat. Mat. Drikke. Drikke. Dette. Dette. En mann. En mann. En gutt. En gutt. Ei jente. Ei jente. Ei kvinne. Ei kvinne. Et hus. Et hus. En nøkkel.
Hi, Sis Annie.
Ei eske.
Salamat sa
Ei
pagbisita.
eske. En kniv. En kniv. En gaffel. En gaffel. Ei skje. Ei skje. The word spoon has two different variations, and that's skje and skje. Ofte,
Ofte.
sjelden,
Sure.
sjelden. Mange, mange. Få, få. In addition to meaning few, få can also mean get. Snakke, snakke. Et øyeblikk, et øyeblikk. En blyant, en blyant. En penn,
En penn.
en penn.
En penn.
Et papir,
Et
et
papir.
papir.
Et papir.
En kunstner, en kunstner.
Kunstner.
Et tog, et tog. En flyplass, en flyplass. Som, som. Gjøre,
Gjøre.
gjøre. Et ønske,
Et ønske.
Du får en frisk start på året med asiatisk biffsalat.
Et ønske. Et ønske.
spørsmål. Et spørsmål.
Spørsmål.
Ei mor,
Ei mor.
ei mor.
Ei mor.
En far, en far. En sønn, en sønn.
Spytter du?
Ei datter, ei datter. En
Nei, spytter du. Alam ko lang ang do. Do is you. Spytte.
Et arbeid,
Spytte. Oo, may similar nga.
ei
Similarity.
setning. Hjelp, hjelp.
Help.
Flytte,
Frutte.
flytte. Gammel,
Gammel.
gammel. Ung, ung. En dag,
Spytter.
ei endring, ei endring. Før, før.
Di ko man alam ang spytter. Alam ko lang
Etter,
snacker.
på,
May spytter ba na word?
på. Fortelle,
Spytter.
fortelle. And now that we're done learning the vocab, it's time for a little mini test. Yeah! In this
Yeah.
mini test, you will be tested third of the words that you have learned in this video. Don't worry if you can't remember all of them. Naturally, I don't think anyone would be able to remember that many words so quickly. But yeah, the countdown timer looks like this. Pause the video using the space bar if you need more time to think of the word. Lykke til.
Lykke til. Gammel.
Gammel. Et øyeblikk. En
Yep.
blyant.
En blyant.
Få. Et ønske. En nøkkel. Ei skje. Ei skje. Mat. Dyr. Et spørsmål.
He eats. Kumain. Oo. Spiser. You eat, han
Et
spiser du?
hus. I en verden. Stor. Mange.
Han spiser. He eats. Spiste du?
Igjen. Et papir.
Et papir.
That was it for the mini test. Congratulations. I really hope this video helped you out learning more Norwegian, and in the next video we'll be looking at the different question words that we have in Norwegian. So you'll probably enjoy checking that out as well. We all need to ask questions sometimes, even in Norwegian. So how do we ask questions in Norwegian? Well, in this video, you're going to find out. Before getting on to the words themselves, I just want to note that most of these question words start with HV, and the H in these words is silent. So the first word is va.
Wow.
Va.
Wow.
This means what? Va.
Wow.
Hvor.
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 This means where. Hvor.
Hvor.
Hvem.
Hvem.
Hvem. This means who. Hvem. Hvordan.
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 This
Gorde.
means how. Hvordan.
Hvordan.
Hvorfor. Hvorfor.
Hvorfor.
This means why. Hvorfor. Når.
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 This is when. Når.
Når.
When it comes to this last word here, which is which, we have in Norwegian 3 different variations for this word. Which one you use depends on the gender and amount. Hvilken is used for singular male or female nouns. Hvilket is used for singular neutral gendered nouns. Hvilke is used for plural. So once again, they are hvilken, hvilket, hvilke. So I'm now going to give you an example of each of these question words used in a sentence. Hva det der? Hva det der? Hvem har spist kaka mi? Hvem har spist kaka mi? Hvor de?
Hvor det?
Hvor de?
Hvor det?
Hvordan går det?
How's it going?
Hvordan går det?
Hvordan går det?
Hvorfor du ikke her? Hvorfor du ikke her? Når du hjemme? Når du hjemme? Hvilken kake spiste du?
Spiste du?
Hvilken kake spiste du?
Spiste.
Hvilket eple spiste du? Hvilket eple spiste du? Hvilke land har du vært i? Hvilke land har du vært i? Alright, it's time for a little mini test to make sure that you've learned your question words in Norwegian. If you watched my previous episodes, you'll know what this is. Basically, you'll have a few seconds to translate an English word into Norwegian, and the time remaining is signified by the rotating Norwegian flag thing as such. So, let's get started.
Hva?
Hva,
Hvor?
hvor,
Hvem?
hvem,
Hvordan?
hvordan,
Hvorfor?
hvorfor,
Når?
når,
Hvilken? Hvilket?
hvilken,
Hvilket?
hvilket,
Hvilke?
hvilke. Alright, that was it for this video. I hope you learned something new. And make sure to check out the next video because I'm going to teach you how to flirt in Norwegian. Norwegian in order to make them feel the same way about you. Simple Norwegian is here to help you out. Let's start by covering some vocabulary which is related to this topic. Kjekk. Kjekk. This means handsome and is used for male people. Kjekken.
Chicken.
Kjekken. This is handsome as a noun. So an example of using this would be Hei kjekken.
Hey,
Hei
chicken.
kjekken. Søt.
Salt.
Søt.
Salt.
This means cute and literally means sweet. Søta. Søta. This means cutie, and you use this word for female people. Deilig. Deilig.
Daily.
This word means hot. Hate. Hate. This word literally means hot. Vakker. Vakker.
Vakker.
This means pretty. Nydelig. Nydelig. This means beautiful. Attraktiv. Attraktiv. This means attractive. Pen. Pen. This is pretty. Sexy.
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 This obviously means sexy. Forelsket. Forelsket. This means in love. Kjærlighet. Kjærlighet. This is the word for love. Å flørte. Å flørte. This means to flirt. Now let's look at some phrases that you can use when trying to flirt with a Norwegian person. Trener du? Trener du mye? This means do you exercise? Jeg liker deg. Jeg liker deg. I like you. Jeg elsker deg. Jeg elsker deg. I love you. Jeg syns du er søt. Jeg syns du er søt. Notice that the E in the second word here isn't really pronounced. And this means I think you're cute. Du har vakre øyne. Du har vakre øyne. You have pretty eyes. Du har en fin rumpe. Du har en fin rumpe. You have a nice ass. Du får meg til å rødme. Du får meg til å rødme. You're making me blush. Du er fantastisk. Du er fantastisk. You're fantastic. Jeg er interessert i deg. Jeg er interessert i deg. I'm interested in you. Jeg er forelsket i deg. Jeg er forelsket i deg. I'm in love with you. Har du kjæreste? Har du kjæreste? Do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? Vil du bli med meg hjem? Vil du bli med meg hjem? Do you want to come home with me? Hos meg eller deg? Hos meg eller deg? At my place or at yours? Vil du danse? Vil du danse? Do you want to dance? Skal vi danse? Skal vi danse? Shall we dance? Dans med meg. Dans med meg. Dance with me. Gi meg et kyss. Gi meg et kyss. Give me a kiss. Kyss meg. Kyss meg. Kiss me. Kan jeg få telefonnummeret ditt? Kan jeg få telefonnummeret ditt? Can I get your number? Vil du bli med meg på date? Vil du bli med meg på date? Do you want to go on a date with me? Alright, to wrap up this video, we're going to learn some actual pickup lines. Get ready. Kommer du hit ofte? Kommer du hit ofte? Do you come here often? Tror du på kjærlighet ved første blikk? Tror du på kjærlighet ved første blikk? Do you believe in love at first sight? Tror du på skjebnen? Tror du på skjebnen? Do you believe in fate? Gjorde det vondt da du falt ned fra himmelen? Gjorde det vondt da du falt ned fra himmelen? Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? Jeg mistet telefonnummeret mitt. Kan jeg få ditt? Jeg mistet telefonnummeret mitt. Kan jeg få ditt? I lost my number. Can I have yours? This next line here is truly a Norwegian classic pickup line, so use this wisely. Vil du bli med meg hjem og se på frimerkesamlingen min? Vil du bli med meg hjem og se på frimerkesamlingen min? Do you want to come to my place and check out my stamp collection? Lastly, we have quite a naughty line, and I advise you only use this on your own risk. Ta av deg buksa di og vis meg det du har. Ta av deg buksa di og vis meg det du har.
Ay, wait lang. Wait. Ay, 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 ay. Silent, silent. Mamaya na tayo mag-aral. you alone. Ganda ng panahon pero malamig. Okay. Wait lang. Akin init. Wait.
The next episode will actually be a very comprehensive episode on everything related to time. So I think it will be really useful for you to check that out if you're interested in learning about that stuff.
Evner har alltid tenkt fremover. På design, teknologi og bærekraft. Men mye er blitt gjort til etterhånd, har Edmund-familien fått flere nye jobber.
Velkommen til din første leksjon. Welcome to your first lesson. We're going to start out by learning the alphabet, as it's pretty important to know how these letters sound when used in words. The entire alphabet in Norwegian is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, B, W, X, Y, Z, Æ, Ø, Å. So, as you can see, it consists of the normal English alphabet in addition to these 3 extra funky letters. But don't worry, they're not too funky, and we'll get around to looking at them in detail soon enough. We're going to go through each individual letter now. I'll give you examples of how they sound when used in words, and we will also take a look at their different variations in pronunciation. Before we begin, I want to note that most of the vowels have 2 different pronunciations, either long or short. Long vowels are usually followed by a single consonant, while short vowels tend to be followed by double consonants. In other words, you can often tell what the word sounds like by noticing if it has a singular or double consonant. As we go through the alphabet, I will give examples of these 2 different variations of pronunciations. Over time, this will totally be second nature, and you don't have to think of this consciously at all.
Okay,
But for now, you
that's
can
it.
use this little rule to help you figure out how certain words are pronounced. A, alphabet.
Alphabet.
An
Okay,
example
let's
of a long
eat
and
while
short name
learning.
is fra.
Fra.
Fra. B. Banan. Banan. C. When it comes to the letter C, there are a few different pronunciations. Typically, however, it will either sound like an S or a K sound. So examples would be camping, camping, celle, celle, Kristoffer, Kristoffer, chili,
Wow.
chili, det, dør, dør. Occasionally, a D inside a word may be silent, and a few examples of this are brød, brød, som, eple, eple. An example of the long versus short E is se, engelsk,
Se.
engelsk. Occasionally, the E will also sound like the letter A. An example is er, which means is. Very, very seldom you will also see an E with a little accent on the top. And basically what that means is that you add emphasis on the E sound. Idé,
Ide.
idé. I
Ide.
also want to mention that when it comes to writing Norwegian, the little accent on the top of the E in these particular instances is actually optional. It's not something that you have to do. So luckily for you, you don't really have to worry about this letter. F, fabrikk, fabrikk. G, gutt, gutt. Sometimes when the G is the first letter of a word, it will sound like the Norwegian J. So an example of that is geit, geit. The G can also be silent. This is when it's at the end of a word following an I, or when it's in front of a J. Heldig, heldig. Igjen, igjen. H, hode, hode. The H can also be silent. This is typically when the H is followed by a J or a V, and these usually occur in the beginning of a word. Examples of this are hjelm, hjelm, hva, idrett, idrett. An example of the long and short pronunciation of I is sier, ikke, jod. So this letter can actually be said in two different ways when you say the actual letter itself. It's either or yod. It doesn't matter which one you use. Everyone understands both.
Kain.
And is more common than yod. When pronounced, this letter sounds like the English Y. Jenta, jenta, K, konge, konge. The K can also have a sound, and that is usually when it's in front of an I or a J. Examples of this are kilo, kilo, kjole, kjole.
Okay?
L, laks, laks. M, mage, mage. N, Norge, Norge. O, olje, olje. Sometimes the letter O can sound like the letter O, and an example of this is norsk, norsk. P, penger, penger. Q. So Q is a letter that you literally never see this in Norwegian. So to be honest, you don't have to worry about Q whatsoever. But if it is used, it sounds just like in English. So an example is quiz, quiz, R, radio, radio. The R sound might be one of the more difficult sounds in Norwegian. You might notice that there's this very slight E sound in front of the R. So it doesn't just start an R, like in English it would be radio. In Norwegian it's radio. Radio. I think this comes from the fact that the Norwegian R can be said continuously, like this. R. And the E sound that you hear initially is from starting this continuous R sound. S, sofa, sofa. When S is written in combination with a K, with a KJ or a J, it will sound like a sh sound. This sound also occurs when the S follows an R. Examples of this would be skilt, skilt, skjold, skjold, dusj, dusj, person, person, te,
Yeah.
te. This word actually sounds just like the letter itself, which is very similar to English, I guess, because if you say T, it means both T and the letter T. So yeah, this is just te. When you see the letters ET in Norwegian, the T may be silent. And some examples of that are huset, huset, det, uke, uke. An example of a long versus a short U is bruke, huske, bruke, huske. Sometimes the letter U will sound like O. Examples of this are ungdom, ungdom, bukse, bukse. Note that a single U in front of a word acts the same way as un is used in English. In other words, meaning the opposite of whatever follows that letter. An example of this is ukjent, ukjent, ved, vann, vann, W, wienerpølse, wienerpølse. Extremely few Norwegian words use W. It's very, very uncommon, just like the Q, and it actually sounds exactly the same as V. In fact, people even say VC instead of WC, X, X. Again, this is a letter that is never used in Norwegian. It's used so little that I don't even have an example for you, other than a name, which is Alex. Alex. E. The letters E and E can sound very similar in Norwegian. To make the E sound, purse your lips. To make the E sound, widen your mouth. Notice the difference between E and E. Syk.
Syk.
Syk. Syk. Syk. Syk. Notice that the letter I in Norwegian sounds exactly like E in English. By the way, syk with an I is not a real Norwegian word. I'm only using it here to contrast between the Y and I sound. Yrke. Yrke. An example of a short versus long E is lyst, 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 lyst. Sat. Again, this is a letter that you never see in Norwegian, but it sounds exactly like in English whenever you see it. Zambia. Zambia. And now we've reached the 3 extra letters that the Norwegian alphabet has. The first one is A, and as you can see, it is composed of an A and an E put together. A, bad, trær. It sounds just like the American bad or apple. L. So, as you can tell, the double consonant rule does not apply to this word. I'm not sure why, but it just doesn't. It actually sounds like it's supposed to have two L's. But an example of a long versus a short is kjøre, trøtt, kjøre, trøtt, og, åtte, åtte. An example of a long versus short is stå, åtte, stå, åtte. This letter sounds identical to the Norwegian word å, which means and. Å by itself means to, as in to fish or any other verb. It's what you use in front of verbs in their infinite form. An extra thing to note about the three last letters here is that even if you aren't able to type these on your keyboard, you can still write these, and you do that by writing AE for a, OE for ö, and two A's for å. And if you write this, every Norwegian will understand what you mean. In fact, it was exactly 100 years ago in 1917 that double A's were replaced with å. So if you ever read old Norwegian texts, you'll see double A instead of å. And there are actually still people who have names that use a double A instead of the more modern å. So to repeat the Norwegian alphabet one more time, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, Æ, Ø, Å. Try practicing saying it yourself a few times. Use the left arrow on the keyboard to go back a few seconds and hear it again. So there we have it, the Norwegian alphabet. Remember, these letters Q, W, X, and Z are virtually never used in the Norwegian language. Luckily for you, that makes Norwegian a bit easier to learn. I know this video contained a lot of information and it's a lot to take in a single sitting, but it's essential that you start out learning the language with a foundational understanding of the pronunciation. And as you watch more lessons, you will now know that you can always come back to this video to refresh your memory on how to properly pronounce Norwegian. Note that there are some quirky words out there that won't really follow these guidelines, and as with any language, you're just gonna have to learn those as you come across them. Another tip I have for you is, if you're serious about learning Norwegian and want to speak it well, spend your initial learning period really focusing on how the language sounds. Repeat the words you hear out loud, do it multiple times, and really do your best to recreate the Norwegian sounds. This is really the only way you will be able to speak a language fluently and clearly. After a while, the correct pronunciation will be second nature, and you can focus more on things such as grammar. By the way, Norwegian grammar is super easy, but we'll get to that in a different video. Oh, what's this? It's a bonus word. And the word is gift. Gift.
Married or poison.
This is an example of the G sounding like a Norwegian J as the first letter of the word. Interestingly, this word has two meanings in Norwegian. It can mean married, or it can mean poison. A coincidence? Who knows? That concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. In the next video, you will learn how to greet people, how to ask them how they are doing, how to say your name, how to say goodbye, and it will be a much shorter video than this one, so it's definitely worth your time.
Nå lanserer vi vår beste synsundersøkelse noensinne. Vi utvider vår allerede grundige synsundersøkelse med en OCT-scan.
Hallo alle sammen. Hey everyone, and welcome to your second simple Norwegian lesson. Today we're going to learn about how to greet people, how to ask how they're doing, how to introduce yourself, and how to say goodbye. Let's start out with a few different variations of greetings. Hi. Hi. Some people also pronounce this word as hey. Hey. Something that I have to say about hi is that some people use this as a way of saying goodbye. Personally, I've never It's that time of the day, people. That's right. It's time to consume some more Norwegian vocab. Let's get straight into it. Already is allerede. Allerede. To make is å lage. Å lage. To come is å komme. Å komme. To go or pull is å dra. Å dra. So yeah, this can be used to describe pulling something or going somewhere or even like leaving. Then is da. Da. As in she left then would be hun dro da. Adult is voksen. Voksen. To stand is å stå. Å stå. A Norwegian person is en nordmann. En nordmann. To is til. Til. To see is å se. Å se. Good is godt. Or actually it could be god, but it's also godt for neutral nouns. And that's something that I'm actually going to explain in the next video on adjectives. Mye is a lot. Mye. More is mere. Mere. Everyone, or like every single one, is hver eneste or hvert eneste, depending on the gender of the noun. To stay is å bli. A country is et land. Et land. Against is mot. Mot. Because is fordi. Fordi. To la. Is å lyge. Å lyge. Both is begge. Begge. Tall is høy. Høy. Long is lang. Lang. Short is kort. Kort. Entire, as in the entire thing, is hele. Hele. To find is å finne. Å finne. Here is her. Her. To hold something is å holde. Å holde. To stop is å slutte. Å slutte. We also do have å stoppe. Å stoppe. Through is gjennom.
Gjennom.
Last is, as in like the last thing, is sist. Sist. To take is å ta. Å ta. Wife, which was actually covered in the previous video, but I'm still going to do it here, is kone. Kone. There is der. Der. To leave is å forlate. Å forlate. Your own, like, I don't even know how to translate it, but like your own thing is egen or eget, depending on the gender. Since is siden. Siden. Company is selskap. Et selskap. And this word selskap, it doesn't just mean company, as in like a business, but it also means like a little dinner party type thing. And it also means company in the sense of being with other people. Once is en gang, which literally means one time. En gang. A city is en by. En by. To show is å vise. Å vise. Our is vår. Vår. A company, another word for company is firma. Et firma. Something is noe. Noe. And this next one is even if or even though in English. And that is selv om. Selv om. And then almost is nesten. Nesten. Question is et spørsmål. Et spørsmål. Such is slik. Slik. And mine is min or mitt, which also is depending on the gender of the noun that you're talking about. Political is politisk. Politisk. And next is neste. Neste. And now to test you on some of these words, we're going to have a little mini test. I'm sure you know the deal by now. Essentially, I do these little tests to make you recall the word rather than just being exposed to it. And the reason I do these mini tests is because when you recall something, you learn it much better than just when you're exposed to it. You have to actually work to think of what the word was, and that way it's solidified much better in your mind. So yeah, lykke til. Allerede. Å lage. Å dra. Å se. Mye. Mere. Å leve. Hver eneste. Or hvert eneste. Mot. Fordi. Begge. Høy. Hele. Her. Egen. Eget. Vår. Selv om. Nesten. Et spørsmål. Min or mitt. Alright, that was it for the mini test. The next video will be about adjectives, so that's definitely worth checking out. I can hear you through the screen. That's right. You're saying, Zonagad, how do I use adjectives in Norwegian? Don't worry, Simple Norwegian is here to save the day. Alright, so it's time to learn just a little bit more grammar, this time adjectives. I'm going to try and make this pretty detailed, so you'll learn a lot about adjectives in this one single video. Not everything, but quite a bit. So the way you write an adjective depends on both the gender and whether it's a singular or plural noun that you are describing. Let's start with male and female nouns, which are declined in the exact same way. And we're first going to talk about a big car, which is en stor bil. Den store bilen, store biler, de store bilene. Hopefully you remember what you learned about the articles in the episode number 6, and you understand that this means the big car, big cars, and the big cars. And yeah, this is how you see adjectives declined for male nouns. And we're going to move on to female nouns, and here we have an example. A pen jente, den pene jenta, pene jenter, de pene jentene. So as you can see, it declines the exact same way. Luckily for you. Once again, when it comes to the difference between female and male, there's pretty much no difference here, which is nice. Oh, and by the way, this means a pretty girl, the pretty girl, pretty girls, and the pretty girls. For neutral nouns, there's one small difference. The singular indefinite form gets a T at the end. So in this example, we have et fint brev, det fine brevet, fine brev, de fine brevene. And this means, by the way, a nice letter. Fint means
La 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 la. Ay.
blåbær. Et blåbær. Strawberry is et jordbær. Et jordbær. Raspberry is et bringebær. Et bringebær. Cherry is et kirsebær. Et kirsebær. Coconut is a kokosnøtt. A kokosnøtt. Mango is en mango. En mango. Orange is en appelsin. En appelsin. A pear is a pære. A pære. Something we have a lot in Norway, especially during the winter, is these clementines or mandarins. I'm not sure which ones they actually are. There's always some kind of weird debate about which ones we actually, but it's clementine and mandarin, which are en clementine, en mandarin. En melon is en melon. En melon. A lemon is en citron. En citron. Lime is en lime. En lime. The following are sometimes considered vegetables, but in reality they actually fall under the category of fruits, so I'm including them in this video. Tomato is en tomat. Tomat. En tomat. Cucumber is en agurk. En agurk. An olive is en oliven. En oliven. Pumpkin is et gresskar. Et gresskar. And a zucchini or a squash is in Norwegian en squash. En squash. Oh great, it's another dårlig norsk vits. Oh great, it's another dårlig norsk vits. Hva skjer når du putter en tomat? Oh crap, what's this? Another one? Oh hell no. Hva kaller du en tomat etter at elefanten har sittet på den? Ketchup. Oh man, those were some hilarious jokes. The next episode will be about the weather and the seasons, so it's pretty useful knowledge, and I hope you check it out. Most people can relate to having a family. We have the happy aunt, the weird uncle, the cool cousin, our senile grandparents, and of course, our parents and siblings. In this video, you'll learn how to refer to all of them in Norwegian. One interesting thing to note about these nouns that are about the different family members and such is that the noun that implies a gender will have that specific gender for the noun. For example, the Norwegian word for mother becomes a female noun, and the Norwegian word for uncle is a male noun. And this is the reason why for most of these words and nouns, I will not specify the gender because it is implied in the meaning of the word. And we're going to start out with brother. Brother is bror. bror. Sister is søster. Søster. Sibling is søsken. Et søsken. Parents is foreldre. Foreldre. Mother is mor. Mor. Mommy is mamma. Mamma. Father is far. Far. Daddy is pappa. Pappa. Wife is kone. Kone. And husband is just the same word as man. It's just man. Man. A more formal term for husband, however, is ektemann. Ektemann. Stepfather is stefar. Stefar. Stepmother is stemor. Stemor. A child is et barn. Et barn. A baby is en baby. En baby. A stepchild is et stebarn. Et stebarn. Son is son. Son. Daughter is datter. Datter. Son-in-law is svigersønn. Svigersønn. Daughter-in-law is svigerdatter. Svigerdatter. Brother-in-law is svigerbror. Svigerbror. Another term for brother-in-law is svoger. Svoger. Sister-in-law is svigersøster. Svigersøster. Father-in-law is svigerfar. Svigerfar. Mother-in-law is svigermor. Svigermor. Parents-in-law is svigerforeldre. Svigerforeldre. Aunt is tante. Tante. Uncle is onkel. Onkel. Nephew is nevø. Nevø. Niece is niese. Niese. Cousin is søskenbarn. Et søskenbarn. A female cousin is kusine. Kusine. A male cousin is fetter. Fetter. Second cousin is tremenning. Tremenning. Grandpa is bestefar. Bestefar. Grandma is bestemor. Bestemor. We also have different terms for grandpa and grandma, and these are different for the two separate grandpas and grandmas that you had, depending on if it's your mother's or father's parents. So mor means mother's mother, and morfar means mother's father. And commercially, we have farmor, which means father's mother, and farfar, which is father's father. Great grandma is oldemor. Oldemor. Great grandfather is oldefar. Oldefar. Grandchild is et barnebarn. Et barnebarn. So it literally means a child, kind of. Child. And a great grandchild is oldebarn. Et oldebarn. Family is familie. Familie. And a different word that we have for family is släkt. A släkt. This is, I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't mean necessarily like your core family, like your siblings and your parents. It sort of means your entire family tree. When you talk about being related to someone, you say å være i slekt. Å være i slekt. And a relative is en slektning. En slektning. All right, that was pretty much it for this lesson, but oh, it's a bonus word. Surpomp. Surpomp. En surpomp. So surpomp is a childish term for someone who's angry or often angry. I suppose an equivalent in English would be sourpuss. And if you've watched the vocabulary number 1 video, you may have recognized sur in the beginning of this word, which means sour or angry. So an example of using this term would be, hei, hva skjer med broren din? Han er bare en surpomp I dag. Han er bare en surpomp I dag. He's just a sourpuss today. So yeah, that was it for this family video. I hope you enjoyed this. The next video will be vocabulary. It will be approximately 50 words, and it will be very common and useful words, so I hope you check that out. It's that time of the day, people. That's right. It's time to consume
Thank you so
some more
much
Norwegian
po
vocab.
sa pagbisita.
Let's get straight
Kahit
into
walang
it.
kwenta yung
Already
LS
is
ko.
allerede. Allerede.
Thank you, Bewley and
To
Vivian
make
Channel.
is å lage. Å lage. To
Hola,
come is å komme. Å komme. To go or pull is å dra. Å dra. So yeah, this can be used to describe pulling something or going somewhere or even like leaving. Then
Maybe like
is
this.
da. Da.
Guys.
As in, she left then would be hun dro da. Adult is voksen. Voksen. To stand is å stå. Å stå. A Norwegian person is en nordmann. En nordmann. To is til. Til. To see is å se. Å se. Good is godt. Or actually it could be god, but it's also godt for neutral nouns. And that's something that I'm actually going to explain in the next video on adjectives. Mye is a lot. Mye. More is mere. Mere. Everyone, or like every single one, is hver eneste or hvert eneste, depending on the gender of the noun. To stay is å bli. A country is et land. Et land. A Against is mot. Mot. Because is fordi. Fordi. To lie is å lyge. Å lyge. Both is begge. Begge. Tall is høy. Høy. Long is lang. Lang. Short is kort. Kort. Entire, as in the entire thing, is hele. Hele. To find is å finne. Å finne. Here is her. Her. To hold something is å holde. Å holde. To stop is å slutte. Å slutte. We also do have å stoppe. Å stoppe. Through is gjennom. Gjennom. Last is, as in like the last thing, is sist. Sist. To take is å ta. Å ta. Wife, which was actually covered in the previous video, but I'm still going to do it here, is kone. Kone. There is der. Der. To leave is å forlate. Å forlate. Your own, like, I don't even know how to translate it, but like your own thing is egen or eget, depending on the gender. Since is siden. Siden. Company is selskap. Et selskap. And this word selskap, it doesn't just mean company, as in like a business, but it also means like a little dinner party type thing. And it also means company in the sense of being with other people. Once is en gang, which literally means one time. En gang. A city is en by. En by. To show is å vise. Å vise. Our is vår. Vår. A company, another word for company is firma. Et firma. Something is noe. Noe. And this next one is even if or even though in English, and that is selv om. Selv om. And then almost is nesten. Nesten. Question is et spørsmål.
Ang ganda ng
Et spørsmål.
panahon.
Such is slik.
Pero malamig.
Slik. And mine is min or mitt, which also is depending on the gender, the noun that you're talking about. Political is politisk. Politisk. And next is neste. Neste. And now to test you on some of these words, we're going to have a little mini test. I'm sure you know the deal by now. Essentially, I do these little tests to make you recall the word rather than just being exposed to it. And the reason I do these mini tests is because when you recall something, you learn it much better than just when you're exposed to it. You have to actually work to think of what the word was, and that way it's solidified much better in your mind. So yeah, lykke til. Allerede. Å lage. Å dra.
Å dra. To s...
Å se.
Å se. Om mange.
Mye. Mere. Å leve. Hver eneste. Or hvert eneste. Mot. Fordi. Begge. Høy. Hele. Her. Egen. Eget. Vår. Selv om. Nesten. Et spørsmål. Min or mitt. Alright, that was it for the mini test. The next video will be about adjectives, so that's definitely worth checking out.
Nakakataman mag-aral. Ay, ambot. Ay, naku, hirap mag-aral. Okay, pahinga na muna. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you.